it's not a good idea when I'm in this meeting today, because I'm just not ready for it. I'm just too tired, and I think I will leave now.
Okay, just watch. You can watch the video if you like.
Yeah, can I just watch it without talking to you guys?
Hello, everybody. So
Okay,
we're
nice.
live in this discussion now with Ben Cornish and some other jugglers, and we're talking about. Well, I posted this topic in juggling home group, which was basically I had this thought for a long time that I was wanting to challenge. Actually, I wanted to open it up and talk about it a bit more. That people from a science background seem to have like the have the necessary sort of like perseverance, if you like, to actually break through to learn three balls. Because it's like I felt as if there was this time where you're not getting any feedback that you're really doing it, that it's working for you, and then all of a sudden it starts working, and then you're like excited about it. And so then I was asking if there are people, also jugglers, that don't like maths at all, and that they love juggling, just to find out this other response. Obviously, I jugglers come from all sorts of backgrounds, right? And so my take on this is we are often attracted by a certain activity because it complements something that we're lacking, right? And it certainly was this for me. When I learned to juggle, it gave me a huge piece of my life back to me that said, basically, if you want to do anything, you could do it. Just put the energy into it, and you'll get it rolling. And then I studied chemistry at university, so this is one my take on coming from a science background, and I had to learn all more like art aspect of it, and I actually even went to a physical theatre school in Switzerland to gain this more arty side. And now I've probably gone a bit too more into the art side rather than the science side. But that's really cool for me. I prefer, prefer it. So this is a little bit where I'm coming from. And so rather than seeing it as like fixed, I'm also interested in the journey that which we might have all taken. You know, we started somewhere and we are somewhere else now. And how is this? You know, how did you get in? Anyway, I'm going to pass Ben has got some questions ready so go hand it over to Ben.
Thanks, Anthony. I thought what I'd like to ask everyone who's here this evening, what their entry into juggling was, what was their initial interest in juggling, and why they started getting into it. So, Micah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So would you, I mean, I'm going to keep this fairly short, like maybe a minute or so, just to do a quick overview of why you got into juggling or how you got into juggling. And then I've got a few questions after that.
Well, do you want me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think that around when I was 10 years old, I tried to learn to juggle, and I was also interested in magic, and couldn't learn it because I didn't have anyone show it to me. So I tried a shower, and that didn't really work out too well for me. And when I was 12, I got a magic kit, like you know, you can get them nowadays at Phantasma Magic or wherever you can get them. And from there I went with my parents on a trip with their international it's a fraternization group they have I'm from Germany, and they have a sister town in Britain, and we went there, and there was a kid who could juggle, and he juggled, and he told me, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to show you. And since I know it's in magic, often magicians don't like to tell you the trick, I went to the library. So I must have been 13, I guess. I went to the library and figured it out with Dave Finnegan's book, and then I joined a circus club at some point. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I'm just going to go round quickly. There are follow-up questions to that, but Vanessa, can you hear okay?
Yes. You hear me?
Hi, Vanessa.
Yes.
Can you tell us why you started juggling or how you started juggling?
I was always like interested in juggling, but I didn't think that I could ever learn it because I didn't like physically grasp what was going on. But then I was accepted to circus school, or like a one-year circus program, and juggling was one of the classes in our curriculum, and we were being judged pretty harshly, and there were other things I couldn't do at all, like tumbling. And so then I decided like I absolutely couldn't suck at juggling, and so I like put in some serious time to be able to just do a cascade. Even though I came from like a flow arts background, so I had like many years with hula hoops and staves and squares and fans and other props and stuff. So, but I still like the juggling aspect of it didn't click for me. I just had to like drill a lot. And so then once it did click, like it intersected really well with what I already did. And so then the interest was there to continue.
Great. That's great. Lucas, same question for you. How did you come across it? What was it that appealed to you about it?
Yeah, I learned quite young, I think 10 or 11. My parents visited some kind of circus. Nowadays, you would probably call it contemporary circus. And there was a devil stick act, and I must have been the most annoying kid for weeks because my mom found somebody to teach me. And that was how it started, and I never stopped.
And what was it that appealed to you about it? Just quickly.
I don't know. It just,
Okay.
it was perfect.
A mystery appeal. How about yourself, Anthony?
How did I start juggling?
Yeah.
I was at university, and there was a guy in my class who juggled, and he had friends that juggled, and I was pretty amazed by this magicianry or wizardry, you know. And one day I just picked up 3 balls by my bed and started to get it, and I really, in that one moment, all these limitations just dropped down. All these things that they told me I wasn't coordinated, I wasn't sporty, I couldn't do any, you know, I thought like, I really felt like I'd been lied to almost. And so it was a huge breakthrough for me learning to juggle. And then I just got super passionate about it.
Fantastic. For myself, I was theatre was my background really, and I started learning when I was on a theatre degree course, and I was just interested in performing anyway. And I think it was going to Covent Garden and seeing people. Perhaps I just thought, wow, juggling is, because I love comedy as well, and it just seemed like all the people who did juggling were also really funny a lot of the time. So I thought, well, that's great. You know, here's something interesting to try that's new and different. And I got the complete Klutz book, and I learned with another guy who I lived with. So that's very quickly what happened. But what I wanted to say, this is a kind of a one-word answer question for all of you. And I've asked a lot of questions of jugglers for this book that I've just written. So I spoke to 40 different jugglers, and I asked them about their background, how they got into it, etc. And then there's a sort of supplementary question for me, which was, what's juggling about? And I'm going to give you a choice of one word here: maths, physics, creativity, challenge, fun, self-expression. I say one word, but obviously that's 2. A hiding place, or is it to do with confidence? And I'll try Lucas first with that one.
Yes, I have to go with creativity, even if hiding place. But yeah, creativity is it.
Excellent. Vanessa?
Challenge.
Micah?
Well, I would think after you got the technique down comes the personality, which is the creativity. I don't think that the creativity really is something you start with in the beginning.
Okay, and Anthony?
Oh, it can be many things. Eh? Very interesting question. For me, right now, it's self-expression.
Okay, so I want to kind of steer this now in the original question that Anthony was looking at is a sort of about science and maths, you know, to what degree people are led to it for that. So could everybody just say to what extent that aspect applies to your own practice or your own juggling, the sort of maths, science and physics aspect? So I'm looking at you in this order. So I'm going to ask you first, Anthony. I'm going to go Anthony, Lucas, Vanessa, and Micah. So Anthony, if you go first, to what extent does science and maths or physics, those elements play a part in your juggling now?
Oh, now my juggling, for me, it's art. Art for me, it becomes art when I become very aware in what I'm doing, not like overly self-conscious, but when I'm aware, when I'm deliberate about what I'm doing. Even if I'm having fun and I lose myself in it, I'm still deliberate. So yeah, for me now, it's art.
Great. Lucas?
I think it always shifts. There have been phases where I have a really scientific approach to think and put everything in boxes and mix those boxes up. And then I'm tired of it and I put everything in the subconsciousness, where I think the same rule applies. So whether I really think about and try to craft a trick or I find it accidentally, I mean, it's the same laws of nature that applies and that I'm using. And so in one way, it's always math and science behind it. But sometimes I'm really thinking like a scientist, and sometimes I prefer to really not think at all about it.
Great. Yeah, thank you. That's a great answer. Vanessa?
For me, the math and science part is not something that is like inherent or like my brain easily grasps. I do know side swap because it was something that we had to learn, and it's a good way, I think, to like communicate about patterns to people. But like as far as what is going on in my juggling, I don't think about numbers at all. And the physics, yeah, I don't know. I kind of find all that part is like not my strength, and the creativity is more my strength. Yeah, the numbers actually, in like some of the more confusing patterns, if someone is expressing it to me in numbers, like I don't even really grasp sometimes what they're saying until I see it.
That's understandable. Micah?
Well, I think first, juggling is like playing piano, wanting to learn the Waltz of Flowers from Tchaikovsky. You have to practice, and it's the same routine behind it, like going to school and having to do your homework and having a mother not yell at you. You are used to it. You have learned that you have to practice. In the end, when it comes to science, that came to me much later to even look at it in a scientific way. I think because I have a sports science background, I kind of know a little bit about science and about hand-eye coordination and muscle proprioception, which is the muscles awareness. You have learned to where you should put your arm. What was the question again? Can you just repeat it? So
it was really to what extent does math, science, and physics play a conscious part in your practice as it stands now?
I think I tried to understood my first side swaps when I knew that a certain side swap was helping, for example, 6 or 7 balls. So I did learn with 5 balls. Was it 5-5-2? Which one was that? 5-2. Hold on a minute. 4-5-4. You will know which one I mean. The one.
Sure.
I can't show it to you, but I have it actually on a video.
Do you mean the crossing one, the combination of 4s and 5, which is 6x4? Perhaps.
Yeah, it could be that one. I did 2. One of them, Jordan Campbell, who's a mathematician, showed me. But I mean, in general, yeah, that's how the math came into it. Generally, I wasn't that interested in side swaps. A little bit for passing, but not.
Okay, yeah. So for me, I had no interest whatsoever in the science or the maths at all, probably until the last couple of years. And I looked at it more from that point of view, not side swaps, because I still don't really get side swaps. I understand what I understand, but I can't get to grips with what I don't know. So 4-4-1 or 4-2-3 or those kind of easy things I can get to grips with, but other things I can't at all. But in terms of thinking about the physics and the angles and things like that, I thought about it a lot during lockdown, where I broke everything down. So because I was doing Zoom juggling classes, and I was thinking about trying to teach principles of things, and I realized I had to break things down in a much more scientific and rigorous way than I ever had done in order to explain them. So, for example, I'd done a lot of multiplex patterns, and I realized I could do them, but I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I had to go, well, how am I going to show this with 2 balls, what these 2 balls are doing, what those 2? So I did them all with different colors and stuff, so I could actually see what was going on and I could analyze it. But I never really done that much until lockdown, and I've been much more rigorous. But I wouldn't say it's anything to do with maths. It's more to do with being able to break things down in a scientific kind of way. Oh, what's happening here? What's happening here? You know, trying to understand the mechanics in order to be able to explain it to other people. So there, really, yeah. And I think I wanted to also ask the question from everyone having decided to learn it. I was thinking earlier on, there is a sort of apparent defiance of the laws of physics when we do juggling. I think that's part of the appeal of it. It looks, you know, Anthony said the word magic earlier on, but there is this magic to like arms moving and things being kept in the air in a sort of almost a mysterious way. But has that changed? I presume everyone here has been juggling quite a long time. So just over the passage of time, have your feelings about it changed? Is your enthusiasm for it exactly the same? And again, does your understanding of juggling enhance what you do or not? And also, just a quick question, are any of you performers? It's the other question I wanted to know from people as well. And if I start with Vanessa with that one.
I do perform, but I don't do that as my main income. I'd say, so I'm primarily a hoop juggler, and I primarily juggle pretty large hoops. And so like, it can be challenging for me sometimes with finding space during the pandemic. In Chicago, we had a great gym we used to always have in the winter, but that closed during the pandemic and will not be reopening to us. And so it can be challenging for me to have like continuity, or especially during the pandemic, have like continuity of practice to like really kind of maintain that enthusiasm when I see progress. And sometimes there's like backsliding, like when I like recently restarted training again when there was space. So I think that it's like a back and forth a little bit sometimes in that respect. But it definitely, I have tried to integrate it more and more into my hoop performances, like a little bit more complicated of patterns as I get a little more comfortable. and like balances and stuff, especially. So yeah, I do like, it is exciting to me, and I'm emotionally excited by club juggling because it's like, it's got a really strong social aspect to it, but I'm less excited about it in practice, I've noticed. And like really what I get most excited about is hoops. So as if I have access to it, then I am pretty continuously enthusiastic about it because I do see continual progress, and there is like an application for it, and like I see the ways that more things intersect over time. So yeah.
I'll come back to your interest in hoops in a little while, but if I can ask that same question to Lucas, are you a performer, A, and B, how has your practice, changed over time? Because you said you started out with the devil stick. Is that still a big thing for you, or?
Yeah, so I am a performer. I've been to circus school, which was another kind of practice. My main drop still is devil stick. My second drop is probably ball juggling, and then a bit of everything else, including some weird combination stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm practicing for over 20 years now, so a lot of things have changed. When I started, I just wanted to learn all the devil stick tricks until they run out, and I had to find my own devil stick tricks, which was kind of my entry point, both into creativity, but also into, taking a more scientific approach just to have the tools to create new tricks. And now I'm at a point where I still have so many tricks I could practice in theory, but they are hard, and I don't care that much as I used to when I was 18, and finding a new trick and doing it was the most important thing. So sometimes I'm just happy that I know this trick exists, but
you don't need to do it.
yeah, at least I don't need to do it immediately. I kind of like improve slowly in some directions, but if a trick takes 5 years, then I'm not mad about it anymore.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Micah, same thing for you. Are you A, a performer, and B, can you just talk a little bit about how your relationship to your practice has shifted over time?
Well, now, you hit a certain age, then you just go, sorry, you hit a certain age, you don't care too much about what other people think anymore. You probably just care about does the audience like it? And so that's how your routines look like. And you will also have overcome probably in all your speaking material the fears, because I think that was for me the main problem when I was younger. I was not very confident with speaking. I think I haven't performed much since Corona. I think my last show was just like a month before Corona, and then I just stopped that. You just go through your routines probably 3 times, and that's if you have a lot of material. It's not always possible every day. Right now I have an injury. I really can't do much. I have a shoulder problem, so I have to wait until that's done. I think that also comes with age. yeah. When it comes to how do you go through it, how do you approach it, you said, right? How do you approach technique? I have one new thing, but it's actually an old Japanese thing, the transfer trick. So me and David Kane we're talking about it because I learned it I was shown it.
Nose balances thing?
Yeah, one of these.
Yeah. Switch from chin to forehead with the ball. But I don't have that much new stuff. I have an act where I sing and I do poi boots. I'm gonna start doing that again. I haven't done that in years. But that's the two acts I like. I kind of will start doing again now, and maybe I will start again. But I always felt like you turn a certain age, maybe you turn 40 and the world will forget about you. But you notice that if you're a performer, and even if you're a woman, you shouldn't think like that. I mean, Madonna is still working, and she's 61 or something. So I think it's actually a wrong perception you have.
Yeah, I think she's got an insane work ethic anyway, but that's also American. I don't think we've got any Americans here tonight, but that's something very noticeable, I think.
I am kind of American too, by the way. So.
Me, I'm American.
There's a massive work ethic thing with Americans that seems to me quite different to certainly Brits, and maybe Europeans too. But Anthony, so how about you? You do perform, or you performed?
Yeah, since the beginning of the pandemic, I decided to stop performing. It wasn't something I wanted to do at all costs, and I've moved on from there. But something interesting I wanted to say is that I think it was at EJC. I did a hat workshop with Niels Pohl, and his workshop was like a show, right? So I really believe now in like performing in an authentic way, not being like fake, but performing. I like to be bigger than life when I meet people and fun, So I feel like I'm performing with other people. So I get my performing kick out of interactions in daily life, let's say. And for juggling, I've been working until very recently with a Tai Chi sword, and this is very interesting because you really end up connecting yourself with just one prop and doing a lot of body work. And I'm starting to get back into juggling right now, in the last few weeks. And it's as if I've not stopped juggling because I've kept my joints all oiled and the brain fresh with it. One thing I noticed about this discussion that we're having now, somehow it's a bit slow, someone's falling. There's some bits here and there, but what it's giving to me is like a whole different perception of juggling. So like if I take my props now, for sure, I'm going to start seeing gravity, the influence of gravity more. It's obvious, it's always there. Things fall, it's like how they fall and how you pick them up again. And there's the jugglers that learn the fastest ask better questions all the time. They're like, what is going wrong here? How can I make this better? How can I get this ball or prop to go exactly where I want it? How do I move this? So this is somehow scientific questioning about something, we could say, to get quality answers. So it's really weaved in this whole thing, science, art. And then we have scientists like Richard Feynman. I think he was amazing. Really bring art into the science. So they, at one point, they can become very extreme. Like we live in extreme opposite culture, right? Total polarization. But like we can fuse science and art totally. So it becomes SART.
I think that's really something that I've become definitely interested in, is this idea. I've always been a sort of rejecting of science, if you like, and very much embracing of arts. But of course, it's nonsense to think that they're not connected. And I think if we can sort of drive the discussion in that way, I think it could be very interesting. Somebody who's not here this evening, they wanted to do try and construct a survey looking at the like the demographics of jugglers, to what extent is it more art or more science. And I think that might be quite an interesting thing to try and drive it on the pages. But the other thing I wanted to ask people here, because everyone's been doing it at least 20 years, I would say, in this discussion group. No, Vanessa, not 20, a shorter time?
Yeah, I've only been juggling about like 7 years.
Okay, 7 years. Okay.
Yeah. It's still a long time, good time.
Yeah, it's still a while though, isn't it, right?
It's a while, yeah. It's not 20, but it's a chunk enough that I'm like, okay.
It's still enough to be qualified as a doctor or something like that, 7 years.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just interested in, as your technical skill has improved, what has it done to you as a person? I'm just interested in that question. And I'm going to ask you, Vanessa, first. So you've been juggling slightly less, but have you felt it's changed you as a person, learning to become, improve a technical skill? What effect has that had on you?
It definitely has changed me, because I always had a really strong perception that I would never be able to juggle. I always said, I'll never be able to juggle. Like, I just don't get it. I couldn't, like, I would try even with 2 balls, like, casually, and I couldn't make any sense of it. So, like, the fact that then I had to learn to juggle, or else, just like not succeed in that aspect of something I wanted to, like, that pushed me that way. It kind of showed me that if I do set my mind like to it, and it was broken down in a systematic way, and I just like put in the time, then I can actually learn things that I thought maybe I could never do, including stuff that like I was initially bad at. Like, I wasn't one of those people that it clicked with right away. Like, some people started from scratch and like immediately picked it up quickly, and I just wasn't one of those people. So it showed me like the value of just keeping at it. And then now that I love it and how it like integrates with my other like object manipulation, it just like it just shows me a lot about the value of like putting in the time for something like that, and like what it can turn into in the end is like something that you really appreciate in your life. And in general, like, I don't drop things in my life anymore. For the most part, I can almost catch anything that is like haphazardly falling, which was never the case before. So that's cool.
Bonus prize. So Lucas, same question for you really. Have you noticed anything happen as your technical skills have improved in you as a person?
So, I started quite young, so I think it shaped a lot of my confidence and knowing I could do something if I wanted to and if I worked for it quite in my teenage years. And then I may have become overconfident, because especially with a not so common drop like Devil Stick, it was really easy to get really good compared to most other people. And so eventually there probably was a phase where it made me a little bit, not arrogant, but I had to realize that being special at something very niche isn't that special at all. So it kind of made this, and now I'm really happy that I can do it. I know it is special. I gain a lot of confidence for it. But I don't think I'm like a superhuman anymore, because I can juggle better than an average human.
Yeah, it's its own thing, isn't it? Anthony, how
I think
about you?
it can go both ways, and find a middle ground, then it's good.
How has juggling shaped me?
Yeah.
For me, it's like a bit like what happens sometimes. I'm like sitting around, I just have to get up and have a bit of a juggle. It's like just this. I probably am hyperactive. I've never been like diagnosed, but I'm definitely got. I definitely get distracted very easily, and it definitely helps me to stay focused, and it helps me with my need to move. I need to move. I probably need to move about 3 hours a day to feel like good in my mind. Let's say, if I don't get that movement time in, juggling for me, it's like your work. It's a practice. It's a practice, and a practice can have so many depths to it. So,
Micah, did you hear the question?
No, I didn't.
So the question is really, as you've gained and improved skills over time, how much has it had an effect on you as a person, and what kind of effect do you think that it's had?
Oh, I do think that there's a confidence increase behind it. But I don't think that was through the juggling. I think being on stage. But I actually think that when I became a teacher, that helped me also to some degree, because I was a phys ed teacher and I was talking, you have to talk to your students and you're in front of the class. And if you're shy, if you have any kind of shyness as a teacher, I think it's the wrong profession. Therefore, I think that was actually like being on the street and street performing, but just not doing the street show. So yeah, confidence, but our confidence also comes with age, comes with the routine. Does not necessarily come from the juggling, because when you're a chick, you're a chick, when you're a whelp, when you're a puppy, you're a puppy. You want to know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, interesting. I think for myself, juggling, the most important thing is patience.
Yeah.
I was incredibly, I like you, Anthony, sort of ADHD, borderline hyperactive all my life, spent all my whole time at school in trouble, messing around and being difficult and stuff. And suddenly having this focus quite late on, I mean, I didn't learn until my 20s. And I became patient, because I had to be, and I can't remember whether it was you, but yeah, Vanessa, you were saying, I was very slow at learning everything. I'm not somebody who picks it up quick. I can do stuff quickly now because I have a framework of understanding, but I was very slow at plate spinning, really rubbish at the Diablo. I struggled with the juggling. I was quite good at the tightrope. The tightrope was the one thing I could do reasonably well, but all the rest of it I found really difficult, partly because I'm easily distracted. So learning patience and getting the confidence from going, if I keep going, I just keep going and I'll get this. That's the most valuable lesson juggling's taught me, I think. And teaching it has also helped a lot. I'm a very patient teacher now. I understand how difficult the things are. So I don't ever assume anything about how quick it ought to be for somebody. I'm endlessly patient with people, regardless of how slow. And I teach ukulele as well, and I've been able to do the same thing there. People don't have to be quick. I understand it can be a slow process. And I also understand the value of a slow process. You learn things better, I think, a lot of the time. So lots of people, if they want to do numbers, these young men coming in, they're doing 7 balls in 6 months or a year, and they miss out half the landscape because they're just going, I've got to do the bigger number. I've got to, and they can't do any 3-ball tricks. Drives me nuts. So they've got kind of no foundations in a way, despite the skill. Linda, I think, is joining us. Oh, it looked like it. And I think she's been juggling for longer than any of us. I don't know. Did you see that? She came and then went.
Yeah, that said, Ben, I feel that somehow you need to follow people's tendencies. If they're like all hyped up and excited about doing something, then I
wouldn't want to hold anyone back. No, I get that.
Yeah, I've definitely grown more minimalist in the last few years. Definitely much more minimalist.
Which means?
What does it mean?
Yeah, minimalist.
Oh, playing with like 1, 2, and 3 objects.
Oh.
I think one ball juggling is like seriously underrated. Not contact juggling, just throwing one ball, connecting sequences with one ball. It can be really helpful to unlock a whole world of tricks.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Cool.
So can I just ask how much practice people do? And how much of your day does it occupy? So Micah, let me ask you that first. Do you still have a regular and constant practice, or is it on off? Or
right now I really can't really practice. I do practice 5 balls. My boyfriend, he goes fishing and I juggle 5 balls. And sometimes he catches a fish, So yeah, I have some. That's what I've been doing lately. But when it came to certain things, I have trouble with my shoulder, my left shoulder. Actually, it's the muscle. It's a muscle thing. But yeah, when things are normal, I still would say that I would juggle 2-3 times a week. But when in the time of when I was still in high school, or when I was at university, that was a whole different picture. Do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to know how how much were you doing loads?
Oh, I think at my university, I would in between seminars, I could just go to the gym, because there's always something open, because I was mainly at the sports faculty. And so that was a whole different game, ball, yeah, whatever you want to say. And when I was in high school, sorry. Oops, I see someone.
It's all right.
Yes.
Linda,
Appeared and gone away again.
Linda's joined us. I'm going to ask her all the questions in a minute.
I've slept through my alarm. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for joining us.
That's okay. I'm sorry I slept through my alarm. Now I'm going to be really rude and tell you, because I've been sleeping, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be really quick.
We'll interrogate you when you get back, Linda.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone knows Linda, but I think she's been juggling for a long time, and does a lot of work in schools and stuff as well. So it'd be interesting to ask her whether her practice is still, fresh and still going or whatever. So Lucas, I would ask you the question that I asked Micah, which is, is how much are you doing? Has that changed a lot over time?
So yeah, it definitely has changed from being young, and I think I had 20 hours a week, even more if the weather was really good. Then circus school, which was probably even more than being a performer, which was definitely less. One thing it really depends on, for example, at the moment, I'm not rehearsing at all, but I'm having quite good weather for this early in the year. So I will do street performance whenever the weather allows it. Even if it's just a cloudy Monday and I know there's not a lot of money, it's just easier for me to get myself to do a few sets of street performances and get my practice there. And at the moment, it's what I enjoy more, performing a little bit and just running the things I can do, opposed to really working on new stuff. But today, actually, I was practicing for half an hour because I had 3 bad days and I just felt like juggling.
What's your main thing on the street? What's your main performance props, or is it a bit of everything?
Usually a bit of everything. So I have this thing where I play a thing on the flute while balancing a stick on it, which works well to get some attention. Then I go into devil stick, go into some combination tricks, propeller plus balls in the other hand, diabolo plus devil stick, do a little bit of diabolo, toss it high, catch it, do the magic thingy, do some cigar boxes, go into 2 devil sticks, and that's usually good enough.
So lots of bits and pieces.
Yeah, lots of fast tricks connected. So in the city I'm currently at, I feel like talking doesn't work at all. People run away once you try to be funny, so I rather just juggle, which is still what I enjoy the most and what I always love to do, just standing around and juggle and hope somebody sees it and enjoys it.
I love that. That's great. So I hope you'll forgive me a minute, Vanessa and Anthony, seeing as Linda's here, it would be great to Linda, just to get you up to speed. I mean, one of the things I asked everyone at the beginning, after Anthony had explained that he put this post up that lots of people responded to, including you, was just to ask people how they got interested in juggling when they first started, and how long they've been doing it for. So that's my first quick question to you.
Okay. I've been performing, this is my 50th year as a performer. And I started juggling, learning to juggle when I was a child. My dad was a juggler and I didn't really have any choice. It was something I had to do. In my teens, my father became quite ill and couldn't work. And then it seems to be that in our family dynamic that someone had to juggle. So it just had to be me. And I basically, that's just what I everyone in my family agreed that I would be the juggler in the family. So that's what I did. In the 1970s, when I know that seems ridiculous, but I really didn't want to be a juggler performer. I just had no choice. But given that I had no choice, I made the best of it, and I was pretty good at juggling. So I had to get into being a performer, and I learned through experience how to do that. And after about 20 years of being a juggler, I'd also been working with, I married and did a variety act with my husband, but still kept using juggling. But then, like after about 20 years of being a juggler, I was ready for a change, but then stumbled into performance in schools and found where I really wanted to be. And so for the last 30 years, that's what I've been doing, performance in schools and preschools.
I'm going to have to ask you, did you come to love juggling?
Yes, I came to appreciate the skills and came to, well, I'm still doing it. There must be. I guess the fact that it was not my choice stops me from being able to say I really love it. But I must do. I don't think I could really keep doing it this long if I didn't. But there's something inside me stops from saying, yes, I love it, because it wasn't my choice. Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? I know that's weird, but I'm still doing it. I still practice. If I don't have shows, I practice probably 3 days a week. Through COVID, that's what I've been doing. I've been particularly busy this last 3 months and haven't kept up that amount of practice, but did a preschool this morning and I was just fine. I hadn't done any formal practice, but I have a bunch of props in the living room, and now and again when there's something on TV that I really don't like all that much but want to see the end, I'll juggle or do some, a bit of practice that way. But I also have a space that I go to when I want to practice formally.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, one of the things, so you've made it work for you in a sense on a social level or an educational level. You've broadened it out into that, and that's made it.
Yeah. So what I do is I stumbled into my first school's show and had a contract for 5 years with the New South Wales government Roads and Traffic Authority, where I was with a team of 3 performers plus a director and then later on stage management. But we were basically, our task was to take the road safety and then turn it into a fun clown show, a fun show. And I did that for 5 years. And we wrote about 4 different shows in that time with different directors. And the last lot of directors we were given was actually a theatre company. And that was really, that's where it was like doing a degree, really. I learned so much in that time with a theatre company. And then I just continued on with that style of work when that contract finished.
That's a heck of a contract.
Yeah, 5 years. And I'd never had superannuation or anything. Like for 5 years, I had paid to, first of all, 3 months pay with no shows just to create the material. Then we'd put it in front of a board of educators and they'd give us feedback. And you can imagine how valuable that was. And then we'd go back into rehearsal. Then we'd go out on the road and do shows. We'd get holiday pay and it was fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, that was great for 5 years. And it was in that time in dressing rooms, really, or not dressing rooms, in lunch rooms, where listening to teachers talking, that I started to get the ideas of for the shows I wanted to do when that contract finished. And so that's how I was able to stay in schools by broadening out my focus away from road safety into a couple of different other shows. So by the time, after a few years, I had a second show. And then quite recently, only 2018, I put a third show out there.
And juggling always plays a part in your shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think I must like it.
Yeah, I think you've convinced yourself. Brilliant. And I want to ask a question. When I did this, been writing this book, I asked 40 jugglers about their experience. I had an hour interview with each person, more or less. And one of the questions I came up with is slightly left field, and I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. But it's like, when thinking about your juggling, where is the pleasure located in your juggling when you're practicing? Is it in your mind?
When I'm practicing, okay. I think these days it's, I can still do that.
Yeah.
I think that is actually a pleasure. There's a few things I don't do anymore, but the fact that I can still do much of it gives me a great deal of pleasure.
That's great. How about you, Micah?
Oh, sorry.
Does that question make any sense to you?
No, because I was reading something.
So the question is, in your practice, where is the pleasure located for you? Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional?
Oh, I think it's physical as well. I mean, I think when it's performing, then it's emotional. But I think when you practice and it's a routine you like and you've done many times, then it's definitely physical. And when it works the first time, then it's the serotonin or the dopamine, I guess. But yeah.
Lucas, same question for you.
Depends on the trick. For example, 7 balls, the pleasure is in my body, but with a super complicated, tricky thing, it's in my mind. And if it's like a funny trick, it might, I don't know, but I think different tricks have different pleasures located at other places.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Vanessa. Vanessa. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Same question. Where is the pleasure located for you in your practice?
I definitely say it's emotional. Gesundheit. For me, it's definitely emotional. Like, I definitely notice it the most when I get something new. And there's usually a yell and some jumping involved. So, like, yeah, it's definitely like a surge of emotion and like happiness. And I get the same feeling like when I perform also, I would say, and seeing other people's reactions to what I'm doing. Then it's a different type of emotion. One is much more like a huge rush, and one is much more like a deep satisfaction and like compersion kind of joy. But yeah, I would say it's pretty much all emotional for me.
Wow, great. And Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, I would say in the connection to the props, my greatest pleasure when it's round, nice and round, and yeah, getting better. And on the days that I practice solidly, feeling things getting better, enormous pleasure in that.
I'm also interested in because I think it's slightly different for me. I'm very much a juggler who thrives on discovery rather than anything else. I almost never go, oh, that's a trick I see someone else do and I want it. All my tricks are about discovering a journey to get somewhere. I don't necessarily know where it's going, but it's like, oh, I'll follow this. and oh, this is going somewhere, and I feel like that. So, but I wanted to know whether other people are goal orientated in their practice, or is it a process of discovery for you?
Yeah, for me it's definitely a process. I think we need to wrap up a little bit now though, Ben.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my last question, to be honest. I'm just interested in whether people feel goal orientated, or whether it's just the journey. Everything's process for me, but it's not for everyone. So
I think to be honest, I think we need both of the things, because if we don't have like a goal, then we're just sort of like stumbling about. If our goal is discovery, then we discover. No, it's always like a goal. It's like depends on the quality of the goal, though. I reckon if there's no goal at all, I think we lose motivation and we don't juggle anymore.
Okay, Linda, what do you think about that?
Yeah, what Anthony just said resonates with me. There has to be a reason for it for me, like a show coming up, and coming up with when I created a new show quite recently. It entailed learning. I had never done hat juggling before, but I could see the character wearing a hat and holding a cane, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to have to. I've been putting it off all these years. I'm going to have to learn how to work with a hat. So I did, and I really enjoyed that. But that goal, but also the physical. Yes, that comment about it being physical sometimes is true, and then sometimes it's just repetition and knowing that it'll get better if I keep doing this particular thing like 20 times a day. Keep doing that, and something else. Try, just keep repeating it and trusting that it will get better, and it does.
Hats and canes are great.
Yeah, well, like, but maybe like I learned enough to achieve what I did, and if I don't do a show for a while, I have to practice again. Some of the stuff that I've been doing for years, I hardly have to practice at all. But I haven't done that show because of COVID. I haven't done that show for over a year now, so I know that's something that sits in my lounge room, and every now and again I practice with the hat. So yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Vanessa, goal orientated or journey of not knowing? Oh, maybe no. Oh, there's your hi.
Can you ask me the question again?
Yeah, are you goal orientated in your practice, or is it a process of discovery? You don't necessarily know where you're going, but you get somewhere.
It's at this point, it's still pretty goal oriented with juggling, because I'm still trying, like, the more complicated patterns still elude me that I would like to learn. And I'm still like trying to, my goals are like polishing things, consistency, and like then breaking through new tricks and stuff. So I'd say it's pretty goal oriented, but not like when I'm practicing, it's not like, oh, I'm going to just do this trick. Like I might be like, oh yeah, I should work on this. And then I'll like work on that. And then I'll like find a different thing and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to work on that or whatever. And then maybe I'll go back, because I do know that it helps to switch between things, so I'll like, I'll do that a little bit. I'll have like, maybe there's like 3 different tricks that I'm working on right now. And so like, maybe I'll start up with the stuff I'm comfortable with, and then I'll like transition into like, that, and then I'll remember the other one, and then I'll do the other one, and then I'll like kind of go back and forth a little bit. And like, it's like a casual goal oriented versus like, it's like, I'm going to get like the 50 catches and like, count them.
Yeah.
So.
Micah, same question, goal orientated or journey?
Oh, both. Sometimes it's just about the journey, like about this new trick. It's actually the transfer trick. But when it comes to, I know I have a performance coming up, it's definitely a reason to practice. So that'll get my focus up every time.
Lucas, same question.
I guess same answer, a little bit of both, lots of goals in each direction. I mean, you need to have goals to go somewhere, to have a journey. So it feels like both are the same in the end, but it's complicated.
That's great. I don't have any more questions now, but thank you very much for all your answers. I've written a few things down. But yeah, Anthony, if you want to wrap things up, I feel like the ball started with you, so it can finish with you.
Yeah, so talk to everybody here. So thanks for coming along, and for the people that are watching the video live, I don't know if there's anyone watching it right now, or the people that watch this video later on. If this sparks any thoughts in yourselves, we'd love to hear it in the comments. And so cool. Thank you.